Hi, everybody. Dan DeFedericis from Saratoga Report, and I am here with Julie Marshall. I'm kind of excited today. Julie Marshall is the wife of Public Safety Commissioner Chuck Marshall. This is sponsored content, and we're going to talk to Julie a little bit about Chuck from the one person on the planet that knows him the most. Julie, how you doing on this Halloween afternoon? My God, in 3 hours, the kids are going to be out trick or treating. How are you doing? And welcome to Saratoga Report.
Very good. Thank you for having me.
Okay, ready for some trick or treating tonight?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. We're sort of ready. We'll get there though. We scramble and we always do. Hey, so I wanted to talk to you. You and Chuck are married. You have two children. You live here in Saratoga Springs. You told me when we were talking off camera, you're actually a lifetime resident, or you were born and raised here and went to high school here, and
I
so
grew up
forth.
in Wilton and I went to
Okay.
high school in Saratoga. Dorothy Nolan in Saratoga. Yep.
Okay. Well, darn close, right? Wilton is the immediate suburb of Saratoga, so this is oftentimes the same feeling. Some people don't even know where the boundary lines are. Um, but Chuck's been in office about 10 months now. Obviously, that hard fought special election, and he's running for reelection. And like I said, you know him well. I want you to tell the people watching this. Now, obviously you're biased. He's your husband, but you know why he is so right for this and so good for this and has like the perfect background for this. And I don't want to steal your thunder. I'm going to stop talking now and just say, could you tell the voters why Chuck, and if you want to change my wording, that's fine, but why Chuck is so perfect, so dedicated for the Commissioner of Public Works position?
I think Chuck is very ready for it. He's very community minded. Excuse me. He really just wants to be a helper in the community. Water, wastewater is his area of expertise. He did that for engineering school. He also worked in the assembly for years doing multiple jobs, just all over the place. I feel like doing something like town government, city government, is a good place for him. He can help out. He was on the planning board for a while. He's done a couple other things in the city. He just really enjoys doing community work with the city. So I do see it as something that's genuinely a part of what he is. We have two little kids, so it doesn't get lost on me, the time management that needs to be, taken into account for this. So, and it doesn't get lost on him either. So he's electing to do this because he feels like he could be helpful. And at his core, Chuck is just a very big helper. And I think he really thinks that he can help out the town, the city, however his skill set could help. And I really do feel like he's qualified for the job. And enthusiastically, like just really excited to help out with different side projects that could be, implemented. We're still young. We have young children in the town, and it's very nice to have somebody that's kind of like in the game and having kids going through the system and like all of our neighbors like around. It's a really helpful thing to have him going for it. I think he's a good fit for that.
Helper is a term I haven't heard in this context before with Chuck, but it's dead on because every time I'm talking to Chuck, he is unlike too many leaders and supervisors. The leaders and supervisors, so many of them make it about them. Chuck makes it about the frontline workers that he has told me time and time again know their job well, and they just need for him to lead, but mostly get out of the way. And he gives credit to them as well.
Yes, I've had the luxury of growing up in a household where I saw a few examples, and I really do feel like once you put yourself aside, it's really nice to see what can get done when you put a room full of smart, helpful people in there and they really do a nice job. He does not have a large ego, so that helps out quite a bit. And he really does put everybody else before himself. And that's not political, that's just genuine.
I believe it because I've known Chuck for a number of years, not well, but I have known him, and I concur. Could you? I'm going to hit you cold with this one. Could you give me like an example or a bit of a story where it could have been before the last 10 months? It does not have to be directly related to the Commissioner of Public Works, but where Chuck handled something a certain way and when he was done, you said to yourself, or perhaps to him or somebody else, like, I'm so proud of him, or that he handled that so well. That's why he's so perfect for this job. Did you got a bit of a story for us of any example?
Well, I have a lot of them because I'm a big believer in everyday little tiny things, make the biggest difference. I'm a teacher, so I know that for a fact.
Okay.
The other day, there was somebody who was sick out in front of our street, and they were having a hard time kind of stumbling into traffic and just really difficult. And where most people might just say that's somebody else's problem, Chuck will always go toward the person, always call for backup. We called, the a nice police officer came by, and the man just needed some help. And it was really nice because, you get him some water, you sit down and you take a moment, and everybody has a rough day. And that's what we say to our kids who see this exact same situation unfold a lot of times, whether it's on Broadway or if it's, on our street. And a lot of times, it's nice to get somebody help immediately. Everybody wants to make these big policies about what's going to happen, but a lot of times somebody needs help immediately and you have to do it right then and there. And nobody really wants to handle that part of it. And a lot of times people might get kind of afraid. I know personally, like sometimes I would be nervous with the kids, like, what do I do at this exact moment? And Chuck never backs down. He knows exactly the phone numbers always to call. He knows exactly what to do. And he just sits right there and just handles every situation. It is a nice thing. As a teacher, I always look for the helpers, and Chuck's a helper. And like it's one of those things where if somebody's having a rough time, whether it's somebody on Broadway that maybe is just having a difficult moment and they just need someone to listen to them, or if it's somebody, like at an office or somebody in a building or a child or a little kid that's over, everybody has situations where they just need somebody to calmly listen and to kind of direct the path to compromise. And he tries really hard for that. I do give him credit for trying really hard for that. He attempts to find a middle ground. But I would say there's times when people do look like they need extra help, and sometimes with the kids I feel a bit more like, well, who am I going to call? And right when I think, who am I going to call, Chuck's already walking over, figuring out, talking to the person. It happens quite a bit. So
Okay, and he also, you remind me, he has it's a different quality, but this triggered this in my mind. At least as a political leader, and I'm sure all parts of his life, and maybe it can, there are times when it could be a detriment, but it is so refreshing to deal with Chuck and I'll have like my nervousness, like, gee, Chuck, do you sure you want to do that? Because, it could have this political ramification. And he's like, I don't care, Dan. It's the right thing to do. It's correct. The people are going to be okay with that. He is unafraid to tell the truth and to tell it like
oh
it is.
yeah, that's a very good quality.
Uh,
It's sad that it's unique, but yes, being a good person never goes out of style. It doesn't matter what party line you are. Chuck's a very good person, very ethical, very moral. Just everybody that we grew up with, our parents and us, and we attempt hard to give to our kids. You just do the right thing. And most jobs don't pat that on the back. It seems to be in political land, everybody pats that on the back, but it is a very important thing to just know you should always try to do the right thing, no matter what. And he does.
yes,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, going back to his helper thing, I spoke over the summer to your neighbor, and is it Rose, a
Mhm.
neighbor that he helped out with this gnarly zoning issue long before he was in
Oh yeah.
office and so forth, and he knew, kind of like, it's a different situation because hers was a red tape kind of problem, but nonetheless she needed help. It sounded like she was in a bad spot and couldn't get out of it, and Chuck stepped in and guided her.
It's a good example, and I'm a bit naive to city codes and things like that. That's like his favorite, to read all the books on city codes and everything. But I will say that was eye opening for me. They zoned it a certain way. The realtor sold it to her a certain way. And then she was trying to do all the paperwork properly. And they said, oh, no, this is not a two family, it's a one family. And the realtor in this, when she bought the house, it didn't go as that. And the bottom line is, if she were to do it the proper way, the city would have said, you have to pay 10 grand or more on a lawyer and have somebody, like, go represent you at the court and at City Hall, just to make your house a one family, which, is what we have it zoned for, even though the realtor sold it for two family. And the bottom line is that sometimes the city doesn't see the person, and it's a
Yeah,
detriment. And I don't know if it's the rule book or whatever, but they don't see that you're screwing an individual person. And that's not
yeah.
very good. And Chuck was able to find a lawyer that would do it pro bono and able to organize it so, like, all those night meetings where you go to and you basically say, this is the solution, we need this to, be exactly what it says it was supposed to be, what she bought it as. There was no.
I seem to have lost Julie. Oh dear. Okay, Julie, if you can hear me, your video just went out. Darn, and this was going well. Oh, are you coming back? Hmm.
Can you hear me now? I think we just had a
Oh,
misbreakup.
yes, I lost you for a good 12, 15 seconds there. You were in
Sorry
mid-sentence.
about that. Can you? I basically Chuck was able to help out with fixing up a problem with her house, and it's one of those times where the city laws maybe didn't catch up with reality, and that's the kind of help that we would want someone to go in there and say, some of these timelines and restrictions are ridiculous. You sell a house to somebody as a two family, it should be that. Like, there should not be this confusion. You should not need thousands and thousands of dollars just to make it what you thought you bought it as.
And Chuck helped her get out of that. But it seemed like almost a no-win situation that he helped her get out of that. That these are great stories you're telling. Any last things? We're a few days out from Election Day. We got a weekend left of early voting. Any last things you'd like to say directly to the voters about voting for Public Works Commissioner?
I think Chuck is an excellent choice. He's a very good person, and I really hope that the voters see that and appreciate that. I've said it from the beginning. I think his community service outlook and loyalty to the city is a gift to the city. It's somebody donating their time and their energy and their good intentions to the community. And I would really hope that we see that rewarded in the continuation of having that person stay in office for a little bit, just to, to do some good work. And it would be really nice to have that followed through. I'm sure that there could be other good candidates out there that would do a fair job. But I do think that you get something extra with Chuck because he's very enthusiastically motivated to do some really nice projects that are all win-wins. So I think that if I were voting, I'm a registered Democrat, and I don't just go down the party line. I do look at the individual, and I really hope that the city people do that. Everybody should do that, like, just kind of look for the person. I pick people over politics. I was taught that, and Chuck was taught that, and it's a really good mentality because, like I said, being a good person just never goes out of style. I really think Chuck's a great person because of his helpingness and his community mindset.
I'm glad you mentioned you were a registered Democrat. I had it in the notes there and never mentioned it. That was a strong ending. Thank you so much for joining us today, folks. You heard it right here. Chuck Marshall is the best choice. He's a terrific choice. Please vote for him. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.